Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, America. From the beautiful studios of Pundit Press Radio, it is Friday, January the 16th, 2015, and you are listening to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio, on Pundit Press Radio, SHR Media, and Blog Talk Radio. And now here is Liz Luras.
Good evening, America. We just want to thank everybody and welcome them for listening tonight. I know we have a huge show tonight. We are doing a 2-hour special tonight focused on suicide in the military. I have some incredible guests with me tonight. I want to start off with actually just sending a shout-out there. The melody that we have, or medley, let me say it correctly, the patriotic medley that we just heard as an intro is one of our honored heroes that we're going to be speaking with her mother this evening, and that is Army Sergeant Kimberly Agar, and we are going to be speaking with Margie Agar tonight. So that is an intro that is near and dear to my heart. I know it's going to mean a lot to everyone to just hear her story and talk with her. So we just want to thank Kimberly and her mother for sharing that and blessing the nation with her voice. We want to thank everybody, all of our listeners that are out there on BTR, everybody that's listening on SHR and SACED Radio, everybody that's listening on Pundit Press. And after the show, we want to make sure we encourage everybody to go ahead and listen, all of our SHR listeners, to the Evan Miller Report, as well as on the Pundit Press, everybody to just make sure you stay online with us and listen to the Underground Professor, which will be on after our 2-hour special tonight. So, Dan, thank you again for being on. We're just so blessed to have you here hosting and producing with us tonight.
Oh, you bet, Liz. Liz, I've been looking forward to this show all day long. And this is truly something that you and I have been talking about all week as we've been getting ready for this show. This is something that's going to be truly a blessing. This is something that is turning into, you and I have both talked about this. This is something that's turning into something very special that we feel that God is directing us to do, and everybody involved with this. And so I will tell everybody tonight, be prepared for a very powerful and unforgettable show that is going to touch your life.
Yes, absolutely. Tonight I have the honor and the privilege to bring on, we're actually going to bring on the air 4 parents of some of our heroes, and some of our parents actually have served as well in the military. We're going to start off the show by doing an interview with, and all of these people have become just dear friends of mine, and so it's such a privilege to even introduce them. We're going to bringing on a pre-recorded interview, and everyone will be able to listen to this interview not only on my YouTube channel, which we'll be posting links to that, as well as on my Facebook page, on the public Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Liz Luras. So you'll be able to see this interview. It was one that we pre-recorded last night with the mother of Sergeant Michael Berganio for the United States Marine Corps. His mother is Christina Berganio, a personal friend of mine. Is a very powerful, powerful message. And I was so blessed to be able to speak with her about her son's life and what she's doing to bring hope and healing to others. And this is the first time that she has stepped out to talk about her son publicly. And I know one of the things that she had said to me, she goes, if there is just one life that we can touch during doing this whole, show and putting this all together, there's so much emotion that is packed into this. She said it's worth it. And the interesting thing is, throughout her and I talking, she had talked about her son, of course, Michael. She references him, or she calls him Mikey, and she said, if there's a Michelle out there, if I could touch a Michelle's life or a Mikey, any of the young people out there. And this morning, I get a message before we go live from a dear friend of mine, Michelle Coghill, who had lost her fiance, who is U.S. Navy veteran Nathaniel, and she had lost him to suicide. And so she reaches out to me and was talking about what this means to her. And so we just want to send love out to Michelle. And I know that Christina's message has already touched Michelle, and I know there's going to be others like her. We also have with us on the show tonight Margie Agar, which is, as we said earlier, the mother of Kimberly Agar. We also have a personal friend of mine as well, Gary Noling, and he's going to be talking about his daughter, Carri Goodwin. We have a special guest with us as well, Bill Uzinski, who is also former United States Marine Corps, and he had lost his son in combat in Afghanistan, and that's Corporal Nicholas Uzinski. And he really blessed my life last week by reaching out to me and sharing some songs that we're going to play later on that he actually wrote the lyrics to. And they're just powerful. I think his message of healing to the hearts of all military families is amazing. We're going to bring him on. I know he's got a special message for our listeners out there. So without further ado, we've got the interview, the pre-recorded interview with Christina, and we're going to go ahead and kick that off.
Thank you for tuning in to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio. We are here tonight with a very near and dear guest. We are speaking with Christina Berganio, and she is the mother of Sergeant Michael Berganio of United States Marine Corps. So we are just blessed and honored to have you here today. Christina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just such a blessing to be so honored with your testimony and coming on here, being courageous and wanting to help other people heal. I know leading into this show, we've talked quite a lot offline about Michael, and I know you always reference him as Mikey. Can you tell us a little bit about him? Kind of give the rest of our listeners some information about his background and his life and leading into the military?
Sure. Mikey was my second son, and he was born October 17, 1980. And we were originally from California, moved up to Oregon in 93. And when he was in his junior year of high school, he decided that he was going to enlist into the United States Marine Corps, which I was very proud and happy that he made that choice and supported him wholeheartedly. So he did enter the Corps. That would be August 1999, right after graduating high school. And his first enlistment lasted 4 years. He was deployed to Afghanistan, and then he did leave the Corps and re-enlisted May 2004 until he was losing my words here until he got out the second time around, and that would be February 2008. He was very proud to serve the Marine Corps. He was very loyal to the Corps, and early on, it wasn't really easy, but it was something that he decided that he really did like. I asked him one time, I said, do you think, being in the Corps is like a job? And he said, not really, I just get up and do it every day, and I just thought that was great. So, he did serve in Afghanistan this first time around, and then he was deployed to Iraq, his second enlistment. So he did have those experiences.
Excellent. You must be proud.
I am very, very proud, yes.
So what does this mean to you personally to come on here and to share with the rest of the nation about your son and his life? What does this mean to you?
I've thought a lot about this since we've talked, Liz, and one of the things I want to do is honor Michael. Unfortunately, I did lose him May 17, 2009. He did take his own life, and as a parent, it's been very difficult dealing with his loss. So I'm hoping that this will be something for me where I can be, the way I put it is be unstuck. I feel like I've been stuck for almost 6 years grieving his loss and dealing with his loss. And my hope this evening is, number one, to share my story about Michael, how proud I am of him, his values. He was a great son, and then also share my story with other parents, other mothers, other fathers who have lost their child to suicide that has served in the military.
Yeah. Well, I just commend you for being so brave to come on and talk about something that's so difficult. For the viewers that are listening and don't have the benefit of watching the video that Christina and I had made of this interview, you can actually see on the show page, we're going to be showing Christina's handsome son, Sergeant Michael, or Mikey, and so you'll be able to see a photo of him. I can't even imagine what this experience has been like for you. What kind of advice what kind of things can you say to other parents that have experienced such a deep loss as to losing their children? What can you say to them, or what do you want to share with them?
Well, to those parents out there, mother, father, that have lost a child, I think you would agree with me that losing a child is one of the greatest losses. I've lost parents and I've lost siblings as well as aunts and uncles, but nothing comes close to the loss of a child. So it's been a difficult journey, and I say journey because every single day I have to make the decision to get up and get out and to live. Because when he took his life, he took a part of me with him, and it's learning how to live without him and learning how to live with his loss. And I know that I have been helped along the way, and there are resources for us parents out there, which we'll get into in a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what kind of coping advice, I mean, you kind of alluded to it earlier, and I know through the conversations that we've had, you've talked about some of the things that have been helpful for you through this process. What has helped you, if anything, to help you cope with such a tremendous loss?
First of all, I was raised Catholic, and I believe very much in God and in prayer. I believe that prayer helped me those 8 years that he was gone, and especially those tours when he was in Iraq and Afghanistan. Prayer has always been part of my life and still is, and I rely very much on prayer. There are sometimes, we don't have control over things that happen in our life, and that's when I have to turn it over to God, and I pray. Secondly, of course, family and friends have been supportive of me as well, and it's wonderful to be able to talk to people, be it a friend or a family member, about my loss and what I'm going through. And through one of my very, very good friends, Patty, put me in touch with an organization called TAPS. The acronym stands for Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, and they are a fabulous resource. It is specifically a program for military families. They offer grief counseling. They offer camps for parents as well as camps for children that have lost a parent or son or daughter to suicide or in the military. So they are a great resource. Also, through TAPS, I was put in touch with a therapist who I saw for about a year and a half. The program's called Give an Hour, and therapists actually donate their time specifically to military families to be able to help them with the grieving process, and that was very helpful to me as well. So just know, as a mother and a father that have lost a child, there are resources out there, and I believe we'll have that posted on the where are we posting that, Liz?
Yeah, we'll have all this information posted out on the show page. So for all the listeners out there, if you are getting a chance to go back and listen to the podcast, we invite you to go back and listen to the podcast. That information will stay and maintain on the show page. We're going to go ahead and pull up the number here as well.
Yes. And
then that way we can just recite that out for anyone that is listening today. So I think that you had that information,
yes.
Christina.
The telephone number for TAPS organization is 1-800-959-8277. If you're not able to call and you just like to email them, you can email them at info That would be info@taps.org. You can get in touch with them there, as well as go on their website, which has a lot of information. They also have a publication that comes out monthly. It's family members that are writing in, and their stories are published, and it's a great resource. And not only that, as a parent, sometimes we think we're just alone, but we're not.
Yeah.
There are a lot of us out there, and so this is, I believe, a great resource. This is what has helped me.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing that you are taking something like this and you're giving information to other people and reaching out to them. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the military community and the military family is that we do have that community where we can reach out and help each other when we're dealing with things like this, whether it is deployment, like your son being deployed,
Yes.
or whether it's going through something like suicide in the military. I know you and I have talked about a bunch of different things in preparing for this.
Mm-hmm.
What is some of the part of it that would be the hardest for you to deal with? I know we've talked about a lot of different things, but what is probably the hardest thing that you can say for you as a mother?
The hardest thing is, again, the final act of suicide. As a parent, we want to be there for our child. We want to be there and comfort them when they're hurting. We want to be able to help. And so I would say that the most difficult thing is I did receive a call from him just before he, as I put it, committed the deed. He called to say goodbye, but what I would say to any son or daughter out there is, if this is something that you're thinking about, think about mom, dad, that special person in your life before you decide to go forward with something like this. Reach out. Think of the person that loves you. Think of them. Allow them to help you. Don't feel alone. I know what pain is because I suffer the pain of loss, but just know that sometimes there's just no turning back.
Mm-hmm.
But there's help there for you. Turn to someone that can help you. And I'm sorry, it's really difficult.
I know there's going to be a lot of young men and young women that will be listening tonight to the show, people that will be replaying this podcast, watching this on YouTube, and I know that whether they're able to see the pictures of you, whether they hear your voice and they're reminded, or they see the video, people are going to think about that person, that influential person, their mother, their aunt, their sister in their life that has meant so much. And I know you have just such a beautiful heart. And I mean, to all the Mikeys that are out there that are struggling right now, and I know personally, being someone who is served in the military and loves the military, but has also experienced a lot of tough times in the military myself, it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to reach out. What kind of advice, what would you be saying to them? What kind of words do you want to touch their hearts with? Because I know as a mother you can speak to that, and hopefully whether people are listening tonight and they have that loved one that is kind of their reason for staying, their reason for being, whether they're here today or they're up there in heaven, can you speak to, as a mother, what would your message be to the other Mikeys that are out there listening tonight?
Just know that even though you are in that darkness, you feel so alone, all we want you to do is to reach out. Don't feel alone. Try to get yourself out of the darkness and pick up that phone or go on Facebook and message someone or tweet someone. Use any resource that you can to reach out, be it calling a friend, a family member, anyone that you can think of that you can reach out to. Please do that, because if you do leave, you're not giving them a chance to help you, and you deserve that chance to be helped. Don't let the darkness blind you to who can help you out there. There are plenty of resources. Maybe you feel so all alone, but just know that you're not. There are so many people out there that would be able to help you. You just need to ask. And I know in the military we've got to be tough and we don't ask, but I'm saying, please, as your mother, please ask. Please pick up the phone and call someone. Please message someone and let them know that you are in pain, and ask for help, even if it's for them to talk to you for a little bit, and maybe set up a meeting or meet them for coffee tomorrow, but make a plan. Don't let it go dark.
Yeah. That's so important, is to not let that moment pass, to not isolate yourself from other people. I mean, you're listening here, America, and you're hearing the heart of a mother who has walked through it, and just speaking from the depths of her heart. Reach out, ask for help. There are people out there. So I would say, that I know that it not only has such a tremendous impact on you, but as well as on other family members. And I know you and I talked about that Michael has a daughter.
Yes.
And how does that affected her? How has that affected the rest of the family, losing him and not having him? Can you speak to that at all?
I think, unfortunately, I don't believe Michael knew how much he was loved and how much he would be missed. And he is missed every day and loved every day. And for all those Mikeys out there, or Michelles, if you will, that have loved ones, a daughter, a son, you want to be there for your child. And so please reach out, because it does affect them for the rest of their lives, not having you around. And we want to see you. We want to see your face. We want to see you smile. We'll even want to see you cry. But just let us in. That's the only thing that I could say, is don't shut yourself off. But please reach out, because there are people out there that love you and that will help you. We want you to be around. We want to help you out of the darkness and out of the pain that you're in. Please give us a chance to do that.
Yeah. And, you'll be listening throughout this interview, and as you've heard some of the music in the background, and I know this is really near and dear to your heart, Christina.
Yes.
Can you tell some of the viewers and the listeners a little bit about your choice of having our background music here tonight?
Sure. After I buried Mikey in California, I drove his truck with his personal belongings, made that trek by myself, of course with the radio going, and all of these songs started to come on, some that I had heard before and some that I hadn't, but there was a message in every single one of them. And I had my spiral notebook right next to me on the console of the truck, and started writing down the titles of these songs because there was messages for me, and it was as if Mikey was giving me some information that I didn't have. And so when I did come home to Portland, Oregon, I went ahead and we did have a celebration of life a couple of months later, I should say. And one of his very good friends, Derek, went ahead and put the CD together for me. And so the songs that you're hearing tonight are on this special CD that I hold near and dear to my heart. And that's how that CD came about.
That's so beautiful. I think that's such a great tribute. I mean, you and I have talked about this, that Mikey, he's not here physically, but he's always with you.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think he's thinking right now when he's looking down on this moment and seeing you have this courage to get up and to speak about something? This is your very first time. For those that don't know, this is your very first time, publicly coming out and talking about it. What do you think Mikey is thinking right now as he's looking down and watching over you?
He said, oh my God, he's saying, oh, she's crazy. Because every time we were talking, we would laugh about something, he would just say, you're just crazy, Mom, you're crazy. And so he, I think, would be proud of me to be able to share his story, a little bit about him. He was just such a good kid. He was a fun kid. Anybody that met him loved him. He was my heart.
Yeah.
And I miss him every single day, every day. So I think that as I was very proud of him to have him as my son, he knew that I loved him dearly with all my heart, and I would hope that he would just be proud of me for being able to share a little bit about him with you all out there.
Yeah. I have no doubt in my mind that he is incredibly proud of his mom right now, and I just feel so honored and so blessed to be a part of your life and to share with the rest of the nation a little bit about his life and to honor him as one of our brave and courageous warriors, one of our freedom fighters, one of my brothers in arms.
Yes.
And I'm just so incredibly proud of him, and I know he is looking down. I mean, heaven must have needed a hero and an angel, and I know he's looking down, and he is incredibly proud of you right now and your courage to share your heart with the world. And I think it's a good thing, because in the midst of everything, there is peace and there's healing that can come from that. And we're only in this world for a short time anyway, as we're passing through, and I know he's never left you.
That's true, he hasn't, and I'm just hoping that I have been able to maybe just help one Mikey, one Michelle out there to just know that you are loved, you're not alone, and there's someone there that will be able to help you.
Great message, straight from the heart. Christina, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to be with us here tonight on the Liz Luras Show on Soldier Talk Radio to honor Sergeant Michael Berganio. Is there any other closing words that you have for the rest of America?
Just know that I thank you, Liz, for giving me this opportunity to be able to talk about Mikey and to share a little bit about him and myself with you all out there. And just know that I'm just hoping that I'll be able to help anyone out there that feels alone. Just know that you're not and to please reach out to anyone that you can think of to help you along in this journey of ours, because we're all on the same journey, and I just hope that I was able to help someone. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. And all of the information that Christina shared is going to be listed on the show page again, so we will have the contact information for TAP. We have a couple other resources that are going to be listed on the page, as well as photos of all of our heroes that we are honoring tonight. So make sure to take a look at that, share it with somebody that is in need, and make sure that you're putting it out there in your social media feed, because I think the more that we talk about this, the less stigma there is and the more hope for help that there will be. So thank you again, Christina. God bless. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to that interview. Did I cut you off, Dan?
No, I was just taking a really deep breath after that interview.
Yeah. And, you know, Christina is actually listening right now. She's working, and so she's kind of in and out of things, but all day we have been messaging about this. So I personally know how much this meant to her, and I kind of shared this with Dan earlier, that after we got done filming that, and I would encourage everyone to go watch that on my YouTube channel. We've posted links to it, and all the references or the resources that Christina wanted everyone to hear about and to know about. We posted those on the page. Everything will also be posted, and there's going to be additional resources on my Facebook page. So that's facebook.com/Liz Luras. That's Luras. So we are going to have the phone number for TAPS, which is a great resource. As Christina said, it helps people with getting access to counseling and other resources and how to navigate the VA system, because a lot of times, you know, we're just so unprepared for these situations. So it's hard to know where do you go and how do you get to the right people in a time of such a crisis and such need. I think one of the things that was really important to me and that really stood out about that interview is that Christina said, I don't think Mikey knew how much he was loved. I don't think Mikey knew how much he would be missed. And I think that's a common thread with everyone that I've ever talked to that has lost someone to suicide. And I think it's a great reminder to all of us to make sure that we are letting those we love know how much they mean every single day, because none of us are promised tomorrow. We do have some statistics and other things that we're going to get into in the second half of the show when I bring on the rest of our guests. We did go ahead and turn on Bill's mic, so Bill, you are live. I wanted everyone to hear from Bill. We're going to play one of his songs that has not been heard before, and this is the song To the Mother. And Bill, I wanted you to give the rest of America the introduction to this. Kind of talk a little bit about what did this song mean when you were putting this together.
This whole process that we all go through when we lose a loved one, especially a child, is so damaging, and everyone excuse me, seems to be the expert. Especially people who haven't went through it, and I, through the blessing that God gave me to write songs, I got to meet a lot of families with such heavy hearts, and all the messages were the same. We all spoke each other's language, and I just felt God tugging on me and saying, okay, it's time to dedicate something to the moms that are in turmoil, that don't want to get up, and so I just felt like these words were exactly what so many of these heroes would say to their mom, and basically that's how it came about.
Thank you. You know, Bill, I just so appreciate you reaching out and even everything that you have gone through, and so the rest of America knows. We're hoping to have Bill back on with me because there were so many things that we had talked about. So we're hoping to bring you back in February to go over a lot of different subjects. I want to thank you not only for sharing these songs with all of us, but also thank you for your service and for your son's service to this great nation.
No, thank you also.
So, Dan, if you could go ahead, we're going to cue that song up. So this is to all of the mothers out there, and thank you, Bill, so much for sharing this with all of us and with all of America.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I still hear you, Mom, I always will. Listen to me, let your life stand still. You were always there for me, you always cared for me. I loved you on earth, I love you from above. God gave me to you, knowing that I'd be in good hands. No matter what I try, you were my biggest fan. When I would lean on you, you would always come through. Oh, and God gave me to you. I see your tears in heaven being collected. Angels surround you undetected. You wouldn't believe the prayers coming from above. Hang in there and receive the love, 'cause God gave me to you, knowing that I'd be in good hands. No matter what I tried, you were my biggest fan. Oh, and I would lean on you, you'd always come through. Oh, and God gave me to you. I don't have a time or date, but I will see you again, standing up at heaven's gate. Hold on to my love till then. Oh, and God gave me to you, knowing that I'd be in good hands. No matter what I try, you were my biggest fan. Oh, and I would lean on you, you would always come through. Oh, and God gave me to you. Oh, and God gave me to you. God gave me to you.
Oh my. What a very, very powerful song, Bill. And
Thank you, Dan.
I know. And Liz had asked me to, say a few things about the song, but I'm catching my breath again, and you should probably tell I'm a little speechless right now, and I know Liz is as well right now, and we knew that how special and how powerful that this show was going to be, and how it was going to touch the hearts of so many people, and that song, people often say that music is it goes straight to the soul of our being, and it affects us so much, and certainly that song right there, Bill, it sounds like it sounds like to me that your son was right there with you while you were writing that song. It's amazing.
Well, so many, and my son was a very, very loving and compassionate young man, and he didn't want to see anyone hurting, and when we go through this grieving process, we all in some time wish we did things different, wish we talked a little more, and I struggle with that, and we wish we had one more hug, and sometimes some people I talk to, some families wish that they would have tried harder to talk their son, or daughter out of serving, and so we have this attack that's just beating us down, and if we can just, that song the first time for a lot of people is hard to listen to, but if they give it a chance and listen to it a couple more times, they can hear the words, and they can, I've shared it with some Gold Star families that kind of gave me the inspiration, and I just love the emails I get saying, oh, Ken, that's exactly what Ken would say to me. That's exactly what Brian would say to me, and it just gives them a relief. And some of them play it, the heck out of it, and I'm so glad if just like this show is about, if we can give just moments of peace, then we've done our job. But I think we can do a lot more than that. And I think you guys are doing a terrific job showing that.
Wow. Well, Liz, if you've managed to catch your breath again, I think it's time to bring on our other two guests.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, Bill, and thank you to Christina. I know you're listening out there. We do definitely want to bring on our other two guests. I want to say something real quick before we bring them on, or as Dan is bringing on Margie and Gary. The stories that we're sharing tonight, they're all different circumstances. Unfortunately, we're mainly obviously talking tonight about the issue of suicide. I think that all of us can agree that we love the military and we joined for all the right reasons. So many of us tonight that are on the air and so many that are listening have served. And I think that there is a sense of wanting to honor that. I think the thing that's really important to remember is that although we love the military, sometimes there are unfortunate situations that happen in the military, and it is not to take away from anything honorable that other people have done in the military. And the reason why I'm giving this intro is because I want to recognize that the situations are different of the people that we are honoring tonight and the stories that we are honoring tonight. I want to give an introduction, a personal introduction to both of our other two guests here. First of all, with Gary Noling, who also served in the Marine Corps. His daughter, Carri Leigh Goodwin, served in the Marine Corps. Gary and I go back a long time. I met Gary, I'm not even sure how long ago, a few years ago. We have gone to Washington, D.C. twice for the Truth and Justice Summit for survivors of military sexual trauma. And he was also at the Miss Veteran America competition with me the very first year. So 2012, very first year for me, I should clarify that. And he was one of our guest speakers, and he shared about his daughter, Carri, and some of the things that she experienced as a military sexual trauma veteran. And myself, as many of you know, I've also experienced military sexual trauma, and so I think there's still a long ways to go with what needs to be done in the military. There's a lot of reasons that go into why people find themselves in a place of darkness and where they find themselves to where they're feel as if there is no other option. And, sometimes it's PTSD, sometimes it's TBIs, which for those that are listening and are kind of new to the military lingo, that's traumatic brain injuries, MST, so military sexual trauma, survivor's guilt, so people that are coming back and that guilt and that sense of duty, and that they are here and their brothers or their sisters are not here. Obviously depression and a lack of support, a lack of ability to find a job. There is a lot of things that go into it, so we don't want anyone that's listening today to think that any of the stories that we're just trying to pigeonhole. I'm just trying to basically let everyone know there are a lot of reasons that go into it. Gary, like I said, is just somebody that I can't even put into words how much he means to me, how dear and special he is to my heart, and the work that he has been doing, not only as a proud father, but also as a compassionate advocate. I have Margie on as well. And Margie, oh my gosh, I met her just last year at the Miss Veteran America 2014 competition. She was so amazing. She blessed me with the opportunity to play her daughter's music, and that has just touched my life. So I want to welcome both of you. I know both of you are doing tremendous work out there. So welcome to the show, Gary and Margie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here.
Yeah.
We are honored to have you guys here tonight. So, Gary, I wanted to give you the opportunity to just kind of speak a little bit, and then we'll hand it over to Margie. Both of your guys' mics are on, so feel free to speak openly. But, Gary, if you could speak a little bit about Carri, and I know there were a lot of things on your heart tonight leading into this that you wanted to share with the nation.
Well, there's just so much, Liz. Number one, I loved her very, very much. Dads are supposed to be able to protect their daughters, and in this case, I wasn't able to. There are little girls. They're our pride and joy. And I just wanted the best for her. And I was so proud of her when she joined the Marine Corps. She joined in 2007. And, I was in the Marine Corps, and she did that to make me proud, and she really did. I couldn't be proud of her. I couldn't be more proud. Things just didn't go well for her. With the subject that you've talked about, she was sexually assaulted 2 times in a 2-year period. She never told me. There's so many regrets, in that, because I don't know how I would have handled it at the time. I know how I would handle it now. At the time, I probably would have just told her to suck it up. I would have said exactly what she didn't want to hear. I would have said, okay, we're going to get through this. You're going to be okay as long as I get you home. But I didn't have any idea the pain that was going on inside of her. I do now. She left some journals back, 3 journals, and I've been able to read them. I've read them 1,000 times, trust me. And she was so full of pain, and she was so full of so many suicidal thoughts that she wrote down in paper. And I just never knew. I didn't have any idea this was going on with her. The phone calls was few. At first she wrote a lot. I wrote her a lot. And then it just seemed like she got more distant. And then just one day she told me she was coming home. She was being discharged. I didn't question it. I didn't care. I just wanted her to come home. I had missed her. At this point I thought, well, it's not working out for her. I didn't know anything about the sexual assaults. I didn't know nothing. Then she came home and she lasted 5 days. I picked her up at the bus stop on a Saturday. She was pronounced dead on a Friday. She had drank herself to death. 8 times the legal limit was of alcohol content in her bloodstream. Now, that's almost impossible, but the coroner informed me it was because of the antidepressants that she was on, the Zoloft, that the Marine Corps prescribed, which I also had no knowledge of. I didn't know anything was wrong, you know. I found her bottle, her prescription bottle, says mandatory refill on the top of the bottle. So while she was in service, she had to take the antidepressants. Yeah. I'm not a doctor, but if I could say anything to some parents out there in the military is putting your children on antidepressants, let's look for something else. They tend to get suicidal thoughts. They tend to get suicidal tendencies in young adults, and this is a fact. In my daughter's case, after reading her journals, yeah, it did. It was awful. It was just awful, the pain she was feeling, and I kind of blame the pills in a lot of aspects. Because reading the stuff that she wrote, it just really wasn't my daughter. This wasn't the Carri that I knew. This was a stranger, you know. And she'd only been gone 2 years, and I don't know where I'm leading with this. Really, it's just I lost her. I lost Carri.
Yeah, and I know. Oh, go ahead.
No, just go ahead, man.
I know for the listeners that are out there and that are listening to this, and I know a lot of people were getting messages that they just have never heard. It's still actually something I think is relatively unfamiliar to people that are not, you know, sitting and watching what's going on in the advocacy world. And you and I, Gary, have been involved in this for many years. The same discharge that Carri was given is actually the same discharge that I was given. And so much of her story has really touched my life, and honestly it has been such an inspiration or reason hearing Gary's story and his fight and his love of his daughter and wanting to get resolution and get help and get healing for our warriors that are out there and making sure that they're protected, both male and female. You know, for so many years I was just like Carri in that I didn't want to speak about it. I think there were a lot of changes that happened in my life being a survivor of 3 rapes in the military, coming out of the military with the same discharge, and the devastation that you go through. And I remember hearing about Carri and going, there is my reason. There's my reason to get up and speak, because we need to change this. And, you know, can you speak to what, and I want to get over to Margie and make sure that we get a chance to talk with her, and I know we're going to take a break here and then come back. But, Gary, can you speak a little bit to about what, for the viewers that are not up on the military sexual trauma and kind of what happens in those situations, can you tell them what does their chain of command, what did Carri's chain of command do, if anything, and what are they doing now?
Well, this is where it gets kind of ugly. I'm going to go ahead and say that I love my service and I love my country. You know, and I'm proud of every service member that's listening to this. You know, I love you guys. I have nothing but total respect. And by the way, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Having said that, the Marine Corps hasn't been very cooperative to me. They wouldn't help me bury her when I tried to get assistance in her funeral. Because of her discharge, we got absolutely no help from the VA. We got absolutely no help from the United States Marine Corps. We just got directed to another phone call to another phone call, you know, new numbers, and nobody could help us. So we dealt with that on our own. I still have Carri. I had to cremate her. I couldn't afford to bury her, really, and I didn't really want to stick her in the ground by herself, as bad as that sounds. There just wasn't a lot of help. The 2 assaults that happened to her, one was by her recruiter. It happened in our hometown where Carri grew up. Carri had a tattoo on her back. It was a tattoo of the cross. She asked me, could she get a tattoo, and she was 17. I told her I had to sign a paper. I said, what was you thinking about getting? She said, I want to get a cross. She loved the Lord, just like I do. I love Jesus Christ, I do. So did my daughter. And so she got a tattoo of a cross on her back. Well, the recruiter told her that was going to be a problem. I know this because Carri had told this to her brother, Lucas. He said, he could help her out of her problem if she would do some things. And the next thing she knew, he held her down in the office and raped her in her hometown where she grew up. This was incident number 1. She reported it to her chain of command. The recruiter was quickly replaced. She reported it online, actually. Next thing we knew, she had another recruiter. I never was told anything about this, other than she had got a different recruiter. That's all I did know. Basically, she got the strap. She didn't get the MOS she was supposed to get. They put her in supply in Camp Pendleton, where she was raped again by a superior who was, from what I'm understanding by his age, he had to have been at least a staff sergeant. She had told her brother that she was ordered to report after working hours to perform some duty because she had done something wrong, and then he got her cornered, locked her in a room, and raped her. He beat her. He sodomized her. He hurt her pretty bad. She reported to her chain of command, Liz, and they basically did absolutely nothing. She wrote about it in her journals. I've read it over and over and over. She kept writing things like, I'm convinced they're doing absolutely nothing with the rape case. She would just write erratic things like this. Needless to say, both rapists are still serving. One in Washington, D.C. I know his name, I know the second person's name, because she did write his name down in the journals, and we've been able to track him down. He don't acknowledge anything. It was consensual sex in his wording. Yeah. It was. I mean, he assaulted her. He hurt her pretty bad, and he got away with it. Here's the kicker. If I have a dream, I got my daughter in a box of ashes sitting on a bookcase with all of her books. I would love to be able to bury my daughter in Arlington, with honors. And right now, that's just a dream. That's all that is. But here's the kicker. Both the military rapists could be buried at Arlington.
See, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. And I think people, when they hear about military sexual trauma, I think a lot of people think it's a military problem. And as you and I know, Gary, in the work that we have done in storming the Capitol, in writing letters, in lobbying, in continuing that fight to not leave anyone behind, that this is not just a military problem. It is not just our brave warriors that are losing their lives, but it is also those rapists that become repetitive criminals that are reintegrating into our society, and there is no way to track them. They look as though they are people that have had an honorable service, and then they become, because that's not a crime that people just stop without some type of intervention. And so I think those people are reintegrating into the school systems, the public systems, into the civilian world, and there is no way to track them. I know that's probably going to be another show, and I would love to have you back, Gary, again, to talk about that. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that we'll get a chance to talk with Margie. Hang on the line with me, Gary, because I think we're going to get some closing comments here as well after we go through talking with Margie. I want to bring Bill back on. I know you're live here with me as well, Bill. We are going to get ready just to take a break here, but during this break, we're going to play a second song that honestly, I think it's probably the most powerful song that you have written. It is called Until We Meet Again. Can you, Bill, give the viewers, the listeners, just a little intro into what went into this song and what this song is about?
Sure. This song to me also is the most powerful one I've written, and it came at a very hard time for me. I was calling out to God. God, I hear all these other parents saying they had a dream about Nick. About their child, and I haven't had any dream about Nick, or they've had some type of sign, and I haven't had anything. And I was just reaching out and praying about it, and I already wrote about 10 songs prior to this one, and I was just missing them. It was one of those hard days that we go through, and I just wanted them, and I was being selfish. I didn't care, that he was in heaven. I wanted, another hug, another conversation, another smile, and it was like he just came and sat on the bed next to me, and he mouthed these words to me, just not even mouthed them, said these words to me, and that's how this song came. And it was a song I was going to keep to myself because it was so personal, but I saw how much use it could use, and that's the story behind it.
Yeah, this song, when you sent it, I literally, it took my breath away. I really have a hard time singing the words. It's beyond beautiful. And so tonight, America, you are hearing Bill's song and just the heart that is behind it and so much emotion that went into it. This is not just somebody that was trying to make a buck off of the song. This is the real deal. This is emotion. This is life. This is just, I think, going to bless everyone that's listening tonight. So this is called Until We Meet Again, lyrics by Bill Uzensky.
Thank you.
Hey, Dad, I heard from God today. He's called me to heaven to stay. I'm not scared, but I worry for you. I know you're proud of me. I'm proud of you too. I love you, Dad. You're my best friend. Till we meet again. Until we meet again. You'll have questions. I know you'll be confused. Just understand, my life wasn't misused. You lost a son. You lost a son of war. One day you'll understand what God has used me for. Please put your faith in God's almighty hands. Until we meet again. Until we meet again. Tell my sisters to always do their best. Oh, my brothers, I'm proud of you boys. Live in love, and I promise you'll be blessed. Pray to the Father for the good times and the joy. I'm proud to call you family and friends. Until we meet again. Until we meet again. 'Cause I'm alright. In fact, I'm better than ever. Close your eyes, and we'll soon be together in the light. I'll be waiting for you here. Oh, I can see you
Wow. For everybody just joining us tonight, that beautiful song was called Until We Meet Again. You are listening to the Liz Luras Show on Pundit Press Radio, SHR Media, and Blog Talk Radio. And we knew that this was going to be a very powerful and very special show tonight. And right now I'd like to bring Margie into this conversation and so that she can share her daughter's story with us. Margie, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'll tell you, I have so many things to say. I'm trying to funnel it all through one little spout, I guess. I know everything Gary said, even though our daughters had different circumstances, I can echo every single word that he said. My daughter was, she enlisted in the Army in 2006, and 9 months later she was on a 15-month deployment to Iraq driving 52-wheeled heavy transport trucks. And within 3 months she had an IED blow up on her driver's door. She sustained a traumatic brain injury that wasn't diagnosed for 4 years, but she did suffer with the symptoms for 4 years. She re-enlisted, ended up having her dream job. I'm just trying to kind of put this in a nutshell. But the traumatic brain injury, along with some harassment in her dream job, a little bit of hazing, an untreated and undiagnosed traumatic brain injury for 4 years, and then a misdiagnosis of borderline personality disorder, all became a perfect storm. And on September 6th of 2011, she was in her dream job of the United States Army Band and Chorus in Europe as a vocalist and assistant choreographer. And I kind of knew things were wrong, and same thing that Gary was saying. They pull away, they don't tell you, and I have learned it's to protect us. They're trained to protect us, and not only that, they can't really figure out what's going on themselves. She knew something was wrong with her, but she didn't know what. On September 6th of 2011, she attempted to take her life, and luckily she called a friend and they got her to a hospital in time. She spent 11 days in Landstuhl and immediately returned to active duty, where she was immediately isolated. She was moved to a isolated floor with no roommate. The chain of command was ordered by the doctor to his face for a 24/7 suicide watch because he feared a relapse, and that's in the sworn statements. And that was not done. And after 2 weeks being on the job, after being in the hospital, she was pulled into the office of the chain of command and told her if she could not keep up and could not perform her duties. Now, mind you, she had been through a traumatic event 3 weeks prior, that she would be kicked out of the chorus, which was her dream job. She had been singing since she was 6. So that was basically the straw that broke the camel's back, and 3 days later she died alone in her barracks.
Wow. For everyone that's listening, you're listening to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio. We are talking right now. We actually have Gary Noling on the line, as well as Margie Agar, and they are parents of two of our heroes that we are honoring tonight, and we're talking with them about the stories of their daughters and some of the things that they went through leading up to ultimately their daughters committing suicide. And I'm not even sure if that's even the right way to say it. Margie, can you share with me, did you have, I mean, you said that there were some of the warning signs. What did you feel that the Army was doing, if anything, or where were they lacking? What would you have wanted to see different from what they did?
To be honest, just like Gary said, you don't know anything. When she died, the Iron Gate slammed shut. Nobody, they were told they could not talk to me. It took me 2.5 years, and the help of 2 comrades from the chorus that have now left the Army to tell me what happened during the chorus. But I even go back before then. When she came home from her 15-month deployment to Iraq, I didn't know her. She was not the girl that left. The life was not in her eyes. She was pretty much emotionless. And this was a vivacious girl who was a competitor for Miss Teen Texas and Miss Texas, and had been doing community service and singing all over the state of Texas. She loved to serve others. She came home, I didn't know her, and I was so concerned, I called her commander before she even went back to Fort Benning and told him how concerned I was. So I, as a mother, am thinking, well, the Army, and just like Gary said, I love our military. I love our individual warriors, but there is a lot of things that need to change. And so what I was thinking is, she's employed with this great military. The Army, they're going to take care of her. Mm-hmm. Well, in essence, when she died, everything blew up. I mean, that's when I found out everything, because everything is hush-hush. And it's especially hard when you are a parent and not a spouse, because a lot of times a spouse will be able to, unless they're downrange, they will at least be around or on base with their soldier and kind of see what's going on. But if you're not, you just don't know anything, and until it's too late. And so there are so many things that I want changed, and so many things that I talk about, and I've started my own mission, which is awareness. It's what my pain draws me to do. I have done it on Facebook, and I have moved to Twitter, because a lot of the Facebook people I talk to are a lot of Gold Star moms who are all, unfortunately, going through the same traumas. So I decided to open up my own mission on Twitter and start telling the civilian world what's going on in the military. I have had nothing but thanks from our veterans telling me they're happy that I'm bringing it out into the forefront. Civilians telling me that they're glad I'm bringing out, because I had no idea. I call my mission 22+1, because it is 22 veterans a day. Mostly, I think the figures are 60% around there of the older generation, and 30% of the younger generation that are dying of suicide. And you brought up about the wording, which is one thing I really bring awareness to, is, and if you don't mind me stating some things, is you don't commit suicide. You actually die from depression. Depression is a mood disease. You can't commit a physical or a health issue, a mental health issue, just like you can't commit diabetes or a heart disease or cancer, but there's always that one little thing that from that disease that will kill someone. And the words that would probably illustrate this the best is depression kills. It's deadly. But what is more deadly, a gun or a thought? A gun gives you the opportunity, but a thought pulls the trigger. So it's if there's anything I want people to start changing is you cannot commit suicide. It is basically what you're telling the surviving family is that your child, who is the victim, is also the perpetrator. So you are stuck in this double whammy. And what we need from people is not this stigma, which I go off onto, of first of all, the soldier goes through it, and then the family does, because it's suicide. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to learn about it. If you don't, we will never change. And we need more compassion and less criminality when it comes to the subject of suicide.
Yeah, I'm so glad I have my tissue sitting here with me.
Well, I was already crying after Kim sang.
I think it's more conversations like this where it is not just statistics that people hear, because this is not.
And the statistics are way off. And the statistics are way off anyway.
I know. I was looking at statistics, and obviously we see the commercials nowadays. 22 suicide today, but that is only 28%, or 28 of the states that are actually reporting. And when they get the statistic, and you can correct me. I mean, I'm sure you know.
Well, I just have my latest information, and it could be updated. But that's one of the things I talk about. 22 veterans die from suicide daily. It's a grossly underrated number. It's never really ever been 22. It came from an average of 21 states and limited data from death certificates. The states that don't report, like Texas and California, well, then, the numbers are not going to ever be true. We're looking more like at 34 plus a day. Either way, it's just a failure of epic proportions. And that's just on the 22. And everybody is stuck on this 22 number, which is why I started 22 plus 1, because in addition to the 22, I try and remind everybody that there's one active duty warrior who died each day from suicide. Those numbers are higher. The numbers of active duty warriors are higher than those who are lost in combat. Active duty suicides are never mentioned because they're hidden. The warriors are failed. There's toxic leadership. So I told you I had a lot of things, and I'm trying to funnel it in here. So.
No, this is great. I want to make sure that we have Gary still on the line with us. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
And like I said,
somebody was speaking.
Yeah, Margie and Liz, I want to bring this up real quick. Since we're talking about percentages and how these numbers are grossly underreported, what are the percentages of military personnel and veterans that are committing suicide, but maybe the cause of death is being listed as something other than suicide, and is the military maybe purposely covering up and reporting other causes of deaths to try to keep the suicide numbers lower?
I can actually answer that, and I can't state names, but factually, I know people who know people or whatever, and I know of certain bases that actually cover up their suicides. I also know that I have heard stories where the suicides are very questionable, and I'm not sure which way it turns, but they are turned into murder, or murder is counted as a suicide, or a suicide is covering up a murder, if that makes sense. I mean, so it's crazy. There's like nothing that is a straight line factual about what happens to our soldiers.
And I want to give Gary a chance to speak to that, because no, I love everything you're sharing. I wish I had 4 hours for this show. I mean, there's so much information, and this is interesting because when I was doing some of this work leading up to it with Christina not being able to be live on the air with us tonight, I said, I have gotten so much information. I mean, I'm not even mentioning everyone that had reached out to me, and she says to me, she goes, this is a to-be-continued show. So I say
definitely.
that to everybody that is listening, I am doing my absolute best. I mean, I was shaking leading up to this show because this means so much to me. I know this means so much to everyone that is listening, to our parents that have so graciously blessed us with coming on and speaking about such a powerful subject. There is so much more that we need to do to share this message. And I think it can be continued.
Yeah, definitely. And if I could I'm just saying this because it made me remember when it's Christine, right? That was on?
Yes, Christina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christina, when she was talking about being raised Catholic, so was I. And maybe that was part of the thing that led me, besides my pain, because the first thing I asked when she died is she going to go to heaven? Until I dug into my research. My background is education. Education empowers, and that's why I'm doing this. And God heals the sick. So these wonderful soldiers who are dying from suicide, God is healing them and calling them home.
Yes. I believe that. I want to give Gary a chance to speak to some of the murders in the military that are being labeled as suicides.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've talked to a lot of other parents. There's been a lot of suspicious, quote-unquote, suspicious deaths in the military. And things that they're calling suicide are really looking more like murder. And that's a shame to have to say something like that. And I think in the civilian world, they would be looked at.
We're talking about our military, I'm sorry. It's just sad.
They would be looked at differently in the civilian world. They're almost set them up to fail. It seems like when there's a problem or an issue going on, they medicate them or over-medicate them with antidepressants, which do the exact opposite of what the name says. They find a reason to discharge them. It's usually some kind of a bad conduct, other than all of the discharge. And then they try to let the problem go away and they ship them back home to us. Well, now they can't get employment because they have this discharge. And not to mention when it's done to their confidence. Not to mention, they've seen terrible things in war. Things that people like you or me can't even imagine. People getting killed and people blowing up and just awful things. And they're supposed to come back and adapt. And we have a VA that makes them stand in line. Take a number. We'll get to you.
For years.
And I'll say that here lately, things are starting to look like they're getting better. And I have some close friends, Ruth Moore being one of them, who's making a lot of changes right now. God bless her heart. And there's some big things coming with Ruth, and I'm not at liberty to talk about them right now, but you're going to be hearing about that in the future. We're going to make some changes here. We're going to move some mountains. David defeated Goliath, and this could be overcome too. There's a lot of suffering going on, and there's just two more things I'd like to say that I've been bothering me about this military review, the Military Discharge Review Board. They label, when you go to get your discharge changed, because it's obvious that they're just falsely given discharges that aren't proper and aren't correct. It's like 99 out of 100 times they won't change it. But yet these people have full-time jobs, and all day long they just say, denied, denied, denied. They like to call it no relief, no relief, no relief, no relief. That's the letter they sent me. I would like to challenge the Inspector General of the United States of America to have a full investigation of all four branches of our military, of their discharge review board. These people need to be investigated. They need to be reviewed.
So, honestly,
no employment for them.
I was just going to say, honestly, that is the truth so much, because if these soldiers, our warriors, were like that, would they ever have been accepted into our military?
Correct.
You guys
the way
are
that
just
the way that they're discharged, if they didn't enter that way, or they wouldn't have been accepted. You know, it's just wrong.
For everyone that is listening tonight, and particularly for our guests that we have on tonight, on February 6th, Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're actually going to be bringing on Alyssa Figueroa, and she is the investigative reporter. She is the first person to be able to personally interview at least this is on the Army side of things. It's not the Marine Corps. I think everything we're talking about right now with the BCMRs, it's a big process. It's a process that is personally near and dear because I'm fighting that process myself. So we're going to be talking with the investigative fusion reporter on February 6th. I would love to have you guys back on. We're also going to be talking with Sergeant Chuck Luther, who is not.
I know who he is.
Right. So
man.
Sergeant Chuck Luther is going to be on. He's a personal friend of mine. We have done a lot of congressional work, working on a bill that's called H.R. 975. It's dealing with this issue. This is a huge, huge issue, and I am 100% behind you guys, and I will be the first case to step up there and blaze this trail as far as I can, and as long as I have air in my lungs to breathe. I want to just say we have about a little less than 30 minutes left of this special. I know time flies. There's so many things to cover. I want to get kind of some thoughts of what you guys are currently doing, what some of your messages are, and I want to give each of you a little bit of time to say that. And then I know Bill has something that I think is really going to bless everyone. He's blessed us so much tonight with his music, but he also has a poem that he wanted to share. I had asked him actually to share that is for U.S. Marine Corps Corporal Tyler Johnson, who is no longer with us. And so I want to make sure that we have time to get that in there and to make sure that everybody has a chance to get all of these links. There's so much information that, again, we're going to be sharing it on the show page. A lot of it we've shared in the chat room that's live right now. But because this is such a big issue, we're going to revisit this and do a second show and have everybody back on because I think we need more of this. So, again, I just thank all of you. I'm going to give it over to Gary, and then we'll go back over to Margie for some of your thoughts as far as just things that the last things that you want to say, things that you're really working on right now, both in your advocacy roles.
You want me to go, Liz?
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, I had one more little challenge, and it's actually a huge challenge. You know, to our United States Supreme Court, in 1950, they made the Fair's Doctrine, which pretty much stops us from suing the military. It's a military member. Well, that's just a wonderful thing. That's just a thing that just says, even though we're probably liable for something that happened to you, you can't sue us. That's just awesome.
There's no accountability.
There's none. And here's the thing. This was a law. This was a Supreme Court decision in 1950. This is 2015. There's nobody on the Supreme Court now that was on the Supreme Court at that time. And yet, they're still holding that doctrine just true as can be. Hey, I got an idea. Let's get into their pocketbook. Let's overturn this decision, and let's make them pay. Because I got an idea about the first time they have to pay, they're going to start making some changes. And funny how this Congress is operating right now. If you don't talk money, you don't talk. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. That's one thing that I would like to see, and that's my challenge that I'm giving out to the Supreme Court of the United States. I think it's reasonable. It's time for the change we've been asking for that we voted in. But these Congress people, and a lot of them are, with the Military Justice Improvement Act that we're seeing and that I fully support, there's a lot of people that are trying to help. But the ones that aren't, hey, we have voting power. If they're not solving the problem, that means they are the problem. Let's vote them out. Period. Lives literally depend on it.
Gary, do you have a website or any way that other people can get in touch with you that want to partner with you on the work that you're doing? I know there's a lot of times bills that you're working on.
Yeah. Right now, I have my computer down, and of course, I run my group that's a closed group, and I kind of want to keep it that way, because there's a lot of hurt people in there, and we support each other. The other thing I could say is Facebook. There are several groups that you can go on, and especially to protect our defenders, where you can talk to people that they'll listen. They understand. They know what's going on, and they're trying to fix it just like we are. There's some big things coming up, and I can't really announce it right now. In the near future, you're going to be hearing some big things, and I'll say that much.
And I hope to have Ruth Moore. You mentioned Ruth Moore earlier. She is an amazing veteran that Gary and I have worked with. I know there's a lot of things coming, and actually Ruth and I have been talking, and so we'll definitely keep everybody posted on that. Kind of a side note about Ruth Moore, outside of her outstanding work she is doing for veterans, for military sexual trauma, for everyone that has the illegal discharges, that is getting just all kinds of retaliation against them. Her and I are actually personally working on some programs to help vets with pets. So kind of a side note there. But, yes, she is an incredible woman, and I would love to bring her on at some point in the show. So thank you, Gary. We'll definitely continue to keep more things posted. I had listed here in my chat room, or in the chat room for the show page, not only the website link for my website so people can go on, they can listen to this show in a podcast, they can pull it back up. They also have access to my public Facebook page, so I encourage people to network that way. I'm a part of Gary's group, and work with all of these different resources, so I can also kind of be someone to vet people and make sure that we get them to the right places as well. So, again, thank you, Gary, so much for sharing with us. It has been a pleasure. So, Margie, I know you're also doing a lot of incredible work, and I would imagine you're going to continue doing work, hopefully, with me, and also with Gary. With Gary, and I'll learn all the terminology and everything. I mean, this has just blessed my life personally so much to have you guys on. What can you share as far as, like, what you're doing right now? What can other people do if they want to connect with you?
Okay, to connect with me, my normal Facebook page is just Margie Agar, Gold Star Mom. And on Twitter, I am at BossyTXMAR55. And you can connect with me either way. One of the things I wanted to say first is when we were talking about the VA and misdiagnosis and everything is I tell people there's only one reason I'm glad Kim's in heaven, and it's because she does not have to come back and fight a misdiagnosis. My person has a blanket diagnosis. She doesn't have to come back and fight another war. So I just had to get that out there. Personally, I'm just an activist. I give speeches wherever I can, interviews. I try and get involved in any organizations that might help me. In 2 weeks, I'm going to a convention in Dallas put on by the Department of Defense and Suicide Prevention, I think. I was made aware of it by the Suicide Prevention Coordinator in Germany. So that's pretty much what I do. I do a lot of poetic journaling, and creating pictures, which I call grief graphics. On Twitter, it's a lot easier to write a picture story than trying to get 140 words in a tweet. One of the things there's a couple things that Gary used a good word, challenge. I challenge people to change their wording from commit suicide to die from suicide. I challenge everyone to change their wording. It will also help change the stigma, not only for the soldiers, which is another big problem we aren't even touching on, but also the stigma to the families left behind. I challenge people to just learn how to say the word and start talking about suicide and depression. There are so many things on TV right now that were never there, say, 5-10 years ago. For example, female and male, commercials, if you know what I mean, dealing with relationship issues. So I just feel like in the years to come that we can include suicide in conversation without being looked down on it. Things that I would like changed in the military is when Kim attempted her first suicide, I was never notified. That's something that needs to change because I have been wondering all along who had her six. With HIPAA laws, they don't talk to the military, and the military doesn't talk to the hospitals, and then nobody talks to the families. So in between there needs to be some sort of liaison, not a social worker, somebody from the family, be it the spouse or the parent, but they need to be involved. I was angry that they never called me after her first attempt. And when they are active duty and not downrange, they are not required to have power of attorney. So what if Kim had gone into a coma? Who has her six? And so I think that power of attorneys need to be required as long as you're in active duty.
Absolutely.
Those are just some of the things I can think of off the top of my head right now. So,
Margie, I just listening to you, and Gary already knows this from doing advocacy work. It's so funny in the Miss Veteran America role. It's like, nice, and no. When it comes to my soldiers, when it comes to those left behind, God help the politicians that don't open their ears and listen to us and start making changes. And I promise you, I promise Gary, so long as I have air in my lungs to breathe, I will be the first out there fighting, and I will be the last. Because that is absolutely, I almost want to say a couple choice adult words on this show,
right.
And I know I'm trying to keep myself calmed down. I'm literally shaking as I'm listening to this because I know how much truth there is to that. I know how many problems there are, and I absolutely think this is something that we need to dive into deeper. I think there's a lot of change because I would imagine there are thousands out there of our military family members that are listening going, yep, they're speaking the truth. And yet there's nowhere to turn. And so I wish I had more time. We need to kind of start wrapping things up because we're getting close to the end here. And I want to make sure that we give a chance for Bill to give his poem tonight. I want to thank you, Margie, for coming on. Bill, do we have you still on the line?
I'm still here.
Okay. If you could kind of wrap this up with giving us, your poem really touched my heart. Can you share that, what that meant to you, and then go into reciting that for the rest of America.
Sure. I just talking to many of Nick's recon squad mates and seeing the pain that they're going through and hearing just so many different stories of how survivor's guilt is really affecting our heroes. I wanted to do something to build them back up to who they were, and before they went into war or into the military, and who they can be again. And these young men, especially in Nick's unit, they stepped up for me. So when I needed to cry and a shoulder to cry on, they were there for me. And Tyler Johnson, he let me vent. He let me do so much, and I went through a guilt that I wasn't there for him, and I didn't get to something I really wanted to. And there's so many others in my son's unit, and that were there for me, and I feel like this song is really important. It's in a poem form now for so many people, because they need to know that we're proud of them. They need to be proud of themselves. They need to never forget what they did. We are going to be grateful forever, and it does sadden me that they feel so left alone, and I just want to say to any veteran out there that is contemplating, I'm going to be truthful. I contemplate it all the time. I miss my son so much, and I'm not embarrassed to say I've thought about suicide. I also thought about how much it was going to affect my family if I did it, or even other people that say, wow, he's written some songs, why didn't he apply them? So we all know.
Can I jump in there for a second, Liz?
Yeah, we just have a few more minutes, and I'm getting messages here from Dan. Go ahead, Margie.
It was just something he's bringing up that's another subject that's why this needs to be continuing, is there's another whole branch of suicide that people don't talk about. What he's touching on right now is what military suicides do to the family. There are absolutely no statistics on the subsequent suicides in the families of those who have died from suicide. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and so this is just my version of trying to build these heroes up, and whether I get a lot of grief because I don't write a lot about women, but my experience has been with males, and but you can put whoever you want in this and switch words in anything I write. It's about the message, not about specifics. And this one is called Hell of a Man. Dear son, you can't imagine how proud I am of you. It hurts for the things you went through. I can say all the things you want to hear, but that's not going to make the demons disappear. Stop listening when they say you're no good. If anyone can conquer them, you could. You tell everyone you're a shell of a man. I tell everyone you're a hell of a man. You have the guts, you earned the glory. Now it's time to continue your story. You're a hell of a man, and I'm a heck of a fan. I hear you shout at night. I know you wake with chills. You will win with the strength God instills. You are home safe, and you are sound, surrounded by people who want you around. I notice that smile appearing more and more. You're too strong to be a casualty of war. You're a hell of a man who God has a heck of a plan. You have the guts. You earned the glory. Now it's time to continue the story. You're a hell of a man, and I am a heck of a fan. You know the statistics, 22 a day. Their decisions affected their families in a hard, hard way. You proved you can dig down deep inside. You have nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to hide. You're a hell of a man, I'm a big, big fan. And that just, that is just such a simple, to me, we have to let them know that and we all do, and that small percent of this country that supports the military, but since we don't have everyone doing it, we need to even bring it out even more. And I'm looking forward to having this done in a week or so, where we can put the music, finish the music to it, and just try to do as much healing as we can.
I just think you have an incredible gift, Bill. I think
Thank
everybody
you,
that's listening tonight is going to be just incredibly touched by that. When you get a record, as you get a website and all those things, or if you have one, please reach out to me and my network. Continue to share that with all of us, because I think the message is so important. There's so much community. We look at families as our loved ones are deploying, and there's so much community there. We need to make sure that we're staying connected when our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters are coming home, and making sure that we're still having that family and that sense of community. And I think you just bring all of that together, and I just thank you for sharing that with everyone tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I think we have Dan back on the line. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our 2-hour special, so I promise everybody we will do another show. I think there's so many things that we have covered tonight that we're going to have to revisit a lot of things. No words can do justice to the lives of the women and the men that we're honoring tonight. I wanted to say one quick thing before I hand this over to Dan, because I know he's got a couple words and we're running out of time here. I had lost a friend actually this week to suicide. She is one that had marched with Gary and I a few years ago, Carri Young, and we are sharing her link for her family's link, her GoFundMe link in our chat room tonight. We're going to also show it on my public Facebook. We're still looking at raising a little bit of money to help with covering some of the expenses to lay her to rest, and as she is deployed, heaven-bound. And so I just ask everybody that's listening tonight, if God has placed that on your heart to help that family, I know it would bless them, and it would mean a lot to them as well as to me personally. So I'll go ahead and share that. Dan, do you have a few words to close here tonight?
Oh, Liz, this show tonight, and especially when we kicked it off, we knew that this was going to be something special, but it has even gone beyond those expectations. This show tonight is truly something that I think God directed you to do, and it was some very. Let's face it, this was some hard stuff to listen to tonight, but this was some stories that needed to be told and some information that needed to be out there. And it's just, once again, this is a fight that continues. This is a very serious situation that needs to be addressed. And we have to get everybody involved so that we can make sure that these lives do not end so tragically, and that these and hopefully that if some of these folks get to this point in their lives, that there is the help available for them so that they can get their lives back on track and they don't end this way. And I really liked what Margie said at the end, and that having to do with how this also affects the families. This affects everybody. The people involved, friends, and especially the family. And if you don't think this affects the family, then you did not listen to what Gary Bill and Margie had to say tonight, because you heard it directly from the parents. You heard it directly from them, how this affected them, how it affected their children, how their children's lives ended, and how it continues to affect them, and what they're going through today to make sure that this doesn't happen to somebody else, Liz. And, once again, just an absolutely amazing job. And so, it's hard to believe we've come to the end of this show, and like you said, this will be something that will continue in future episodes.
So, I want to just, again, honor U.S. Navy veteran Nathaniel, fiance to Michelle Coghill. We've got him and her photo on our slider show tonight, as well as all of our veterans that we spoke about tonight.
Right.
And again, we're going to bring so many of our parents back on. I want to make sure that I close with this, and I know we've got to thank our producer, you, Dan, and Pundit Press and SHR, but also we have a special tribute, and I chose the Navy caps that we're going to close out tonight with in honor of Nathaniel and all of our honored veterans tonight, all of our warriors. But I thought it was really important what Margie said, that those that have passed away because of suicide, I personally believe that they go to heaven. And part of the reason I believe that, I've searched for answers on that, is Romans 8:38. It says, "For I am convinced that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor heights, nor depths, or anything other created thing will separate us from the love of Christ Jesus." So Romans 8:38, it is a great verse to send comfort to those that have lost someone to suicide.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio, on Pundit Press Radio, SHR Media, and Blog Talk Radio. You'll be able to catch the show in the archives if you did not hear all of it, and the podcast will actually be up immediately on Pundit Press Radio as soon as the broadcast is over. Before we end tonight's show, we want to give a shout-out. Please, for everybody listening, make sure that you stay tuned on SHR Media for the Evan Miller Report. It'll be a special edition. Jason Miller and Corey Evan were very gracious to move their show back an hour tonight on SHR Media so that Liz could have this full 2-hour special. We'd also like to remind everybody that coming up on Pundit Press Radio is the Underground Professor. He will be coming on live in exactly 1 minute. So once again, thank you for listening to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio. We'll be back with you again next week, same time and same place. Thank you, good night, and God bless.